Okay. Okay, so we're going into chapter 2 of our social studies book. So can you get your social studies book here? Go ahead, you can go ahead and turn to page 37. You there? Okay, so our huge word for this week, if you don't remember another word for this week, you need to remember this word. C-U-L-T-U-R-E. That is what this week is all about. It's culture. I'll mark this real big so you can see it. Oh, sure. What's this week all about?
Culture.
What?
Culture.
Culture. What we're going to do, we're going to go to page 37. We're going to read page 37 to 44 and answer the questions on page 40 and 44 together. Okay? So, who's better going to read? Come on, Tom. Come on, you both of you got to come up here and read. Come on. Yeah. And you'll read page 37 to 38. Desmond, you'll read pages 39 to 41. And Kennedy, you'll read pages 42 to 44. Are you ready? Come on, Simon. Right here. And whoever's up here, while you're reading, what I'll be doing is I'll be writing key words and key facts and key points up here that you'll be tested on Friday and quizzed on Wednesday. Okay? So come a little bit closer to me this way, Simon, so I can have time to, yeah. You ready? You can start reading.
All over the earth, people have the same basic needs. Everyone needs food, clothing, and shelter. People need these things just to stay alive. By living and working together, people are able to meet these needs. As you read this book, you'll find that each group of people meets its basic needs in different ways. You will also learn that as people work together, they develop a special way of life. The way of life belonging to a group of people is called its culture. A group's culture includes all the ways that its people live, think, believe, and feel. All people have a culture. Cultures develop as groups of people work together to meet basic needs. All people have the same basic needs, but different cultures meet their needs in many different ways. For example, everyone must have food. What people eat, however, often depends on the customs of their culture. Customs are social habits or ways of living in a group. It is customary in some cultures to eat a lot of beef and chicken. In other cultures, it is a custom never to eat meat. People also need shelter. The kinds of shelter people build is another part of culture. Homes vary from different regions. They often vary from climate to climate. For example, in warm areas, many people build open, airy homes. In some tropical rainforests, houses are built on stilts high above the ground. This protects them from rising rivers and helps to catch breezes. The way people dress is also part of their culture. In hot and humid climates, people wear light clothing. It might be just a strip of cloth wrapped around the body. How might clothing be different from people living in a cold climate? Living and working together. The ways people develop to live and work together form another part of their culture. For example, people develop language to communicate with one another. Today, more than 3,000 languages are used by the cultures throughout the world. Without languages, how would important ideas and skills be passed from parents to their children? All over the earth, people are organized into social groups. In many cultures, the main social group is the family. Clubs and teams are other social groups. A group of people bound together by the same culture is called a society. Societies vary in the things that they make and the ways that they make them. The people in one society might make only a few kinds of goods, such as wooden bowls or clay pots. To make them, they use simple tools like a knife and a wood-fired oven.
Very good. Next. Come on, Dad.
Okay. I'll start with people. People in another society might make many complex goods like automobiles and airplanes. Automobiles and airplanes. To make such goods, they must use highly complex tools like machines and computers. People of all societies have always felt the need to find the answers to basic questions in life. How should people act toward one another? What is right and what is wrong? What is the purpose of life? The way people answer such questions often depends on their values. Values are the beliefs or ideals that guide the way people live. Values are an important part of every culture. A culture's values reflect what its people believe is important. In the United States, for example, most people believe that they should deal with one another as equals. In some other cultures, people believe that one person or a group stands above the rest. Such values affect how people are governed. Government, or the established form of ruling, is another part of culture. In the United States, the belief in equality helps form government in which the people elect leaders in free elections. Values are also a part of religion. Religion is a belief in God or God. Members of a religion may have a common way to worship their God or God. The belief of a religion help its members answer questions about life's mysteries. Thousands of religions have emerged over time. Some religions, such as Judaism and Christianity, think that there is one God. Others think that there are many gods. Other religions are widespread and are shared by many different societies. As you read this book, you will learn about many world cultures. You will discover that whenever and wherever people have lived. Their basic needs always the same. You will learn how ever the cultures also differ in important ways. Each culture is built upon a legacy from the past. A culture's legacy is made up of gifts it has received and the gifts it has given. A legacy handed down from one generation to the next. While you explore many new religions of the earth, try to discover what is unique about them. What are their legacies? What are their achievements? How have they contributed to the world history and caused today's world to be a better place? You will discover that the people of the earth speak many different languages and have many different values. You will learn that there are many different systems of government and religion. You will also learn about societies that have built upon the legacy of even earlier people. Read on. You are about to start an adventure that will take you far into the past. In the next lesson, you will be learning about the world's earliest people.
Very good, very good. You want to take Henry. Okay, we're going to see for these questions together. Just shake and understand all of them together. It mentioned that all humans have basic needs, okay? There are basic needs that humans have. Go ahead.
Shelter, food, water.
Right. Again, shelter. Shelter, food. Clothing. Who's that clothing? Mm-hmm. Good. There's another one. I said water. Water, good. Okay, so so make sure that you know all those key vocabulary words: culture, custom, society, values, government, religion, and legacy. And we'll go through them real fast. You can go through when you get home and write those notes and everything down. Make sure you highlight. They're right in your book on page 37. Culture is right. It says key vocabulary: culture, custom, society, values, government, religion, and legacy.
There it goes.
Mm-hmm. And culture is we're gonna go over the vocabulary again, because you're gonna have on your test you'll have matching for your vocabulary, and then you'll have short answers for your other ones, like what's the 3 basic needs and all of that. Okay. Okay. So it says what's culture?
Culture is the way of life belonging to a group of people.
Very good. What's custom?
Our social habits or ways of living in a group.
Very good. Society?
A group of people bound together by the same culture.
Good, dude. Value?
Are the beliefs or ideals that guide people.
Very good. Government?
An established form of group.
Mm-hmm. Good. Religion?
Is a belief in God or God.
And legacy?
Recipe. I know it's recipe.
Can you ask me languages?
It's made up of this. It has the food and the dish. It has sugar.
Very good. As we go into our study of cultures, you'll find that we will go into studying many different cultures. We'll study the Roman Empire. We'll study ancient Egypt, ancient Africa, ancient China. So we'll study a lot of different cultures. And as we study these ancient civilizations, you'll find out why they do what they do now. And as you have probably heard before, a lot of times African American people eat certain kinds of food. You call what kind of food? What kind of food do we call? What kind of food do we? That's. Yes.
Soul food.
Soul food. You know where soul food originated from?
Africa.
Africa, but when people arrived in America. When they arrived in America, a lot of times the slaves could only eat certain foods because they weren't allowed to eat the best of foods that their white masters and everything had. So as they were as they killed a pig, the masters would keep the ham, bacon, all the good parts, what they call the good parts of the pig, and they would give what to us? Good, which is chitlins, pig feet, pig lips, pig ears, pig head, pig nose, all those things, pigtails. So they gave us all the pieces. But from that, as time went on, it just became a part of our culture to eat those foods. Greens, macaroni and cheese, sweet potatoes, what else? Fried chicken. All those things became accustomed to us because of our ancestors and what they produced. And the reason that came about is because why? Where they were, and I'm trying to see I get it right. The reason that kind of culture and custom came about is because of the place they were in. So not only does your weather, your environment, your place, or your money affect your culture, but also what circumstances you're in. If you're poor, you're going to end up eating food that you can get. In the Great Depression, sometimes people ate horses, their own horses, because they didn't have any cattle meat, and they didn't have any pigs, they didn't have anything like that. So they ate horse meat. They killed their own horses. So do me a favor, I want you to write those definitions tonight. Right now I need you to listen up here. Yeah, write those. I want you to listen up here because you're going to lose something up here. Yeah. Just come on, I want you'll finish it later. Because I want you to listen to it. Because you're going to have a vocabulary, something you can easily look up. I want you to have these key things right here. Yeah, don't write down right now. We'll write that down in a minute. But, yes, so you'll find out even within cultures and societies, you also have separate cultures. The United States is a multicultural. Because we eat all kinds of food. We eat Chinese food, we eat Mexican food, we eat Indian food, we eat Vietnamese food, we eat African food, Vietnamese food.
What is that?
It's like Chinese food, it's a little bit different. A lot of times you think you're going to different. A lot of times you think Chinese is just Chinese.
Yeah.
It's not. They have Vietnamese, you have Thai, you have all kinds of foods that seem to be Chinese food. It's actually different. Japanese food is actually different. Benihana, a Japanese restaurant. It's a Japanese. It's not Chinese. A lot of times when we see the eyes like this, we say, okay, that's Chinese. But a lot of times they're different. They're different cultures from Asia that look the same, but they're not all Chinese. Okay? So a lot of times you'll have cultures within a culture. Here, if you notice, a lot of times in America, we're separated a lot. We have an African American culture. We have a Caucasian culture. We have a, like say, Mexican culture. We have a, Indian culture. We have a, basically many. They call it, like places like New York, they call it a melting pot because they have so many cultures in New York. When you go to New York, you don't even find really people saying, oh, that's a black guy, oh, that's a white guy. It's just everybody seems to be the same because people mix so well there. In New Orleans, you go to New Orleans, y'all go to New Orleans in May, right? Y'all go to New Orleans, you'll find out that a lot of times in New Orleans, culture differences cultures or your race doesn't make a big difference in New Orleans. When you go there, you'll find that people are so friendly no matter who they are. I mean, yeah, they do a lot of all kind of crazy stuff, but everybody's so friendly. When I went to New Orleans a couple of weeks ago, when we got there, like people just speaking, and I'm already not the most friendly person, but you know, when I got there, you know, they was like, hey, how you? I'm like, how you? I'm like, wow, you are so friendly. Like, they don't see color there because their race is so mixed. A lot of times in New Orleans, you know, have a culture of its own. What kind of foods New Orleans like to eat? Jambalaya, what else? Gumbo, shrimp. I can't eat that. All kinds of things. Like they eat a lot of foods from the what? The ocean. Why? Because they're right there at the port where they can get those seafood from. So they make a living off of seafood. When you go to New Orleans, you'll see a seafood restaurant on almost every corner. Not only that, they have something in New Orleans called this is my mind. It's a certain little donut. Look it up. You'll see it. Anyway, I'll look in a minute. But beignets? I think beignets. They're like little bitty squares. They like funnel cake. To me, they like funnel cake. The funnel cake tastes a whole lot better. And they like little funnel cakes, but they put powdered sugar on them. So they're loaded with powdered sugar, and they had this open market in New Orleans where you go to and you sit down and you eat these beignets, as they call them. People from everywhere are in this restaurant. It's like a marketplace outside. When the wind blows, you're going to be in trouble because we have powdered sugar on your face, your clothes, and everything. So people come here, and all they sell are these things called beignets. That's all they sell. Little donuts. The donuts, guess where the donuts came from? That idea those donuts came from? France. It came from the French. If you know, when you look into history, you'll see a lot of French people when they came to New Orleans. That's why you have a lot of Cajuns and Creole. Creole is a mix of Spanish and French. That's what they call Creole. Okay, you had Spanish come together, you had the French come together. Then you had the Spanish guys come, and also get the French women come. They start coming together. So they had a new race to come together called Creole. And Creole, you'll know you have like Creole rice, you'll have Creole this and everything. It's certain foods there that they have a lot of. But New Orleans is really, you know, New Orleans have a certain kind of accent. Y'all know that accent? Hey, baby, how you doing, baby? Yo, come on down to New Orleans, child. We're going to have a good time down here. They talk like that, and that's how a lot of New Orleans talk because they have that certain accent there.
Can I talk like that?
Okay, so you as we go into studying this, you'll learn about not just cultures from countries, but cultures within a culture. Customs are social habits or ways of living in a group. Now, you know everybody in America in here in the city of Memphis don't have the same customs. So what we believe is something that's wrong. Somebody else believes it's just fine, right there. Okay, see, us, you know, it's certain ways when I was being raised, my mama just would not let me act like. You understand? Because my mom believed in fair to ride before the child, so we get our behind to it. So, but a lot of cultures don't, or a lot of people don't believe in their kids. And so a lot of times the kids be running wild, and so we've been sort of like, so child. Yeah. But they don't believe a lot of them believe in spanking, but see, we believe in spanking. We believe with, my mama told us up, we actually started showed out. Yeah, what can we get home? If we talk, we sure did. No, I got what's right in the store. We get the bathroom, just ain't no bathroom. So I mean, a lot of times sometimes people say, well, that's wrong and blah 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 blah. But it's different. People have different beliefs. Because we have different people in even in the city of Memphis who have different religions. You have Buddhism, you have Muslim, you have Islam, you have Christianity, of course. You have Catholic, you have this, blah 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 blah. You have a lot of different mixtures, even of belief in God. Or the God or God. So when we first came to America, sometimes they base their customs off of not simply what they know or what they don't know. Sometimes people just don't know any better. People a long time ago felt that there was a God for each thing. They felt that there was one God called Ra, and all things, I'll go into that too. They're called Greek mythology, Greek myths. Have you ever saw Percy Jackson in the Olympians? Yeah. Percy Jackson. It's a good movie. But that movie originated from the tales of the Greek myths. Greek myths come from, you'll have the sun god, which is Ra. You'll have Zeus, Hercules, say it again.
Hera.
Yes.
Jupiter, Athena.
Athena, You have all these Greek gods and all these Greek they had a god for rain. They had a god for war. They had a god for the sun. They had a god for the old water. Yes, Poseidon. They had a god for Yes, very good.
Hades.
They had a god, and they could have a belief that a lot of times people couldn't read. They could look at things and say, oh, this happened because of this. So they felt like if they did a rain dance, which is all this little stuff right here came from. All this right here, they did a rain dance, they danced all around, which is kind of where we get to what from? What we get from?
Cha-cha.
Now, what we get this from?
Come on.
In church. What we do a lot in church?
Stomp. Shout.
We shout in church.
A lot
of shouting came from rain dance in Africa. People did a rain dance, and they feel like if they do a rain dance, they would bring rain to their crops, and they would have a wonderful season and they'll have lots of vegetation and growth and all of that kind of thing. That's where a lot of the rain dance and all that kind of stuff originated from. Okay, I don't know. They may need to work with, I don't know. Do y'all remember when y'all the first day of class? Well, maybe it's the third day of class. And I was telling you about different rules and laws in other countries. How when you can't go and throw gum in Singapore on the ground, you can't spit on the ground. You can't do any of that. You spit on the ground, you go to jail or get fined. If you put gum on the ground and chew gum in public, you'll get in trouble. You'll get fined or go to jail. I don't know about that. But there are certain things there that we would say, oh my goodness, that's crazy. In China, they were restricted to how many children per family?
What?
One child per family.
They
only have one child per family in China. Do you know why?
Because children bad?
No, children are no. That's definitely not it. The reason being is because they're overpopulated in China. China has the highest population over any country. They're so overpopulated they have to literally restrict how many children each family has. The children there, on the children's birthday, you know how on your birthday you have a party, you have cake, you have ice cream, you go here, you get gifts and presents. For their birthday, guess what happened? What happened on their birthday?
They don't get none.
No, they get their parents' gift.
What?
On their birthday, they give their parents.
So when you say parents' birthday, they have to give to their parents?
When it's if it's your birthday, you're going to give your mom presents for your birthday. Because they feel like in everything you honor your mom.
Well, on the parents' birthday?
No.
They don't get nothing?
No.
So you really don't have
that?
So you really don't?
No.
Do you turn to the age? Nothing.
Yeah, you turn to the age, of course. But you don't, everything you do, you're taught to celebrate your elders. No one talks back. If you do, you're going to get it. No one talks back to their parents, grandparents, not even a person that's not their parent or grandparent. Anybody in authority. Anybody in authority, you don't talk back to them. There are certain prisons overseas where, prisons here, people, they have PlayStation, some of them, they have game time. They have a workout place they can go to and work out. They have all this. They have air conditioning. They have heat in the air and all that kind of stuff. Basketball court. But get this: in other countries, some jail cells are only this big. I'm gonna come around so y'all can see me. So guess what they do? Guess what they do the whole day? Their jail is this big and about this wide. So this is how they had to be in the jail for the whole day. They had to be in and out of the jail for the whole day.
Just one day?
No, for however long they're in prison. That's their cell. The cell is so small they can't even stand up in their jail cell. Now here we would say, okay, well that's wrong or that's blah blah blah. But there they say, look, this is how it works. You commit a crime, you put the time. Not only you commit the time, but you're gonna make sure that you're miserable if you're paying the time. There are some cultures where, whereas we believe in a court system, as I said, the government, we believe that in a government where not just one single person is in charge, but you have a whole body of people. You have checks and balances in which No one can do anything else without somebody else authorizing to do it. So you don't have a person or what's called a dictator that stands up in front of people and say, you will do this, and this, or you will go here, and this, blah, 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 blah. You can't make rules without somebody else saying, okay, we agree to these rules. We have a democracy, so we vote. Some countries don't vote. Some countries, you're going to have a dictator up there, and whatever the dictator say, you're going to do it. Have y'all heard of Hitler? Mm-hmm. Who haven't heard of Hitler? Okay. Have you heard of Hitler? Maybe no, kind of, sort of. Well, Adolf Hitler was a dictator in Germany. Was it Germany?
Yeah.
Oh, Germany. Yeah, Germany. He was a German dictator. As a child, he had a Jewish teacher. The Jewish teacher was always, as they say, extremely mean, abusive to him. He was a German. When he grew up, some kind of way, he got into power. He became the dictator in Germany, which means he made the rules. He posed the sentences. Whatever he said happened, it happened. When people came out to where he was speaking somewhere, guess what they had to do? They had to raise their hand and say, "Hail Hitler." This man, he hated Jews so much from what his teacher did to him. He orchestrated what was called the Holocaust. The Holocaust was the execution and the literal, what they call ethnic cleansing of the whole Jewish people. Anybody who was Jewish, born Jewish, anybody, they were rounded up into what you call concentration camps. Concentration camps were where they were sent to, and these people were tortured. You had children, you had babies, you had adults, you had old people. And the old people, if they were too young or they were too old, guess what they would do? Kill them. They would kill them. They had all kind of had what you call mass graves. They would have to kneel down near these dishes and they would execute them. They would tell them they're going for a shower. And they would take them all to this big room and say that you're going to go to take a shower. And they would turn on gas from the shower and have gas coming out to them so they would suffocate. They tell them you're going to the kitchen, but they would take them all to the oven. They would take them to the oven and they would kill them in the oven. Run them on children and everything. Whenever you time, you always look. If you look up the Holocaust, you'll see people who actually survived the Holocaust, and they'll have these numbers written across their arms, and that's how you know because everyone had to have a number branded on them. And some of these older people, they still have this blue number written on their arms. They were separated from their families, loved ones. Some people, like I said, as soon as they were very go into the concentration camp, and they were deemed unworkable, so they couldn't be used. They were immediately sent away and killed. People did experiments on them. They made couches and furniture out of their skin. There was one particular doctor who did all kind of horrible experiments with children, with twins, and all that kind of thing. It was just terrible. It was called the Holocaust. So they compare that to African slavery, but of course African slavery was way longer than the Holocaust. But this is what other countries do. Saddam Hussein was another one person like that. Y'all remember Saddam Hussein when they hung? Mm-hmm. Saddam Hussein was an extremely radical and horrible dictator. He had people actually sent to meat grinders. That's how horrible this man was. It was so horrible that the United States had to go over there and do something about him. That's how horrible it was. But
what about the people who didn't go?
What now?
What about the people who didn't go?
Some Jews? Oh, well, they were fine. But they sent out a search. They had sent out police to round up all the Jews. Have y'all heard of the Diary of Anne Frank? Mm-hmm. Y'all have to read that Diary of Anne Frank. That Diary of Anne Frank was a 14-year-old girl. And her family, her family was running from the Holocaust. They were Jews. So this family allowed them to live in their, upper part of their, store-like place. So at night they could eat, they could talk, and all that kind of stuff. But in the daytime, they had to sit in one seat the whole time. They couldn't go to the restroom. They couldn't eat. They couldn't do anything. And it's whole, the thing of a diary of the Anne Frank is her whole diary of each day that he went through. And they had to sit here for the whole daytime. And finally the people did find them. Anne Frank survived, but I think her family, I don't know what happened to her family, but she survived. But they did catch her and they did take her to concentration camp in the end. This is all government from other countries. A while ago, and I think it was in the 90s, there was a young man who went from America over to, I think it was Singapore. And when he got there, he was really horrible. He was a teenager, and he was rambunctious, and a teenager that had some behavior problems. So he went over here to Singapore. He was really spoiled, and he vandalized something in Singapore. I don't know if it was a car or was a building or what, but he spray painted something in Singapore. They got him, put him on trial. So this is a big thing in America. They show it on TV, and they say, okay, for your sentence, we're going to give you 10 lashes. Was it 10 lashes? I don't know how many lashes. But lashes, it was with a cane. They call it caning. And the cane is so horrible that when they hit the person, it tears their skin apart. So the mom, she had for her son, and he went over here, and she just cried and begged, please don't give my son these lashes. Please don't give him these lashes. Oh, this is so unfair. America, please help me. Tell them to do this to my child. Blah, blah, blah. Da, da, da. And they did it anyway. He got it anyway. But, I mean, no, he didn't die. He wasn't going to die no way. But it was just a big thing. That, they didn't want him to cane him or whatever. But he shouldn't have. But America is an extremely wonderful place to live. So we have freedom of speech. We have freedom of, religion. In these other countries, it's illegal to sometimes even carry a Bible. You carry a Bible, you can die from carrying a Bible. You can be prosecuted for carrying a Bible. Some women in these other countries, they cannot wear their skin or face down. They have to wear all these long shrouds with their face covered, their whole body covered. You can't see anything because it's illegal for women to go out and show their hair or show their skin. They can't show anything from here. So we're just extremely blessed to be in a culture where we have freedom. They say it's the land of freedom. That's why a lot of people sometimes run to get here. So they want to be in a place where you have to do this, and this, and blah, 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 and this and that. So governments are usually based on the society they are in. The society that a person is in is always based on the government they're in. Here in our society, we have a lot of crime, teenage crime, and all that. If we were in another society, we wouldn't have it. Look at page 40.
Someone said in Japan, for the person when the punishment, they hold their arm, they put a towel on your face and you're doing the water instead inside. You feel like you're drinking.
Yeah, it's called water surfing. They it's a torture method they use. They lay the person back in a chair, and sometimes they use boiling water, just water. They put a towel on their face. They pour water all over their face, but it gives them the face that they're drowning. It's like horrible. It's not like extra skin on here. Stay apart. Yeah. So here we have freedom of religion. No one makes you do anything. No one makes you go to, or no one makes you say you have to go to this church or this and that. We have freedom of religion here. Some churches, some places they don't have freedom of religion. They tell you to go to his place, you worship this place. God, you're going to do that. In India, they say you worship snakes, you're going to worship snakes. They worship snakes and all that kind of stuff. A legacy. A lot of times, especially here, we focus on the legacy of who our African American ancestors. The legacy is about how the kings and all the rights leaders left us. That's a lot of the legacy we focus on because that's what we take pride in. That's what we find our meaning and our being. Are in those legacies that people left. Okay. How does the chart on page 38? Well, I gotta get the home side about this. Why are values important? And how do they affect society?
And how values important?
Yeah, how are values important? We just really discussed that. How values are important and how do they affect society?
They help the belief life.
Yeah. So if you're somewhere where they don't value life, or they don't value freedom, then your society is going to be a place where any kind of thing can happen. People can get killed. People would then just walk over free. You have genocides where they wipe out whole races of people. Depending on what you value in your country or your culture, it depends on what kind of society you'll have. I've seen these societies like over here in the Middle East where people will strap bombs on them. They actually strap bombs on them because they feel as though it's the right thing to do. We had, when I say kids, I'm talking teenagers who literally put bombs on them and go into loaded shopping places. People in malls. I'm not talking about America, I'm talking about these other countries, the Middle East. They strap these vests on them with bombs on, they go into, and they get on buses. And they blow themselves up in the name of God and say they did it all for Allah. What? No. No, they're God, and they call him God. God, they say they do it all for God. But this is what they were taught. They literally, and they're not even afraid to do it. The people from 9/11, they did it in the name of religion. They're evil as well. They did it in the name of religion. I was sitting in class one time in my it was a psychology class, and we had a discussion come up about religion and what should you be made to do. There was one girl in there who was from Afghanistan, and I was sitting beside her, and the man stood up and he was talking about people who do suicide bombers, which are those people who do that for the name of religion. They think they're doing the right thing, to be a martyr. So they call them martyrs, and they kill themselves in the name of their religion. So he asked this girl, he said, so tell me this, you actually think it's okay for people to blow themselves up in the name of religion? She sat there with her thing on beside me, and she said, I surely do. And I looked.
I was too much.
I was like, okay. I was like, the next semester, I get as far away from the girls I can. Because I don't want to be nowhere near her. And she was dead, and she said, I definitely think it's okay. Think about how scared it was for me to hear that. But she was being honest, because it was scary. Extremely scary. So yeah, the values, if you don't value life, if you don't value freedom, that's going to all affect where you live in. Look at the picture at the left. What does it tell you about Japanese culture?
If people eat out there, these Japanese were wear traditional clothes when they get married. Mm-hmm. They wear hats when they get married.
Do you wear special clothes at our wedding?
Yes, yes. You wear a big long, whatever color dress you wear. It's white, blue, yellow, green, purple.
If I had my dress ready already.
But white?
Mm-hmm.
See, I know you're going to marry.
It's white.
See, I'm trying to get married in a black dress. I'm serious.
Some people do.
People did.
They do. You won't see mostly anybody in America dress like this for a wedding, right? We have a specific way that we usually dress.
Wait, are they getting married?
Which is usually the white dress, and tuxedo, bridesmaid, and the groomsmen. The flower girl.
What's your bridesmaids wearing?
They're wearing pink dresses. It's not red, it's pink and chocolate. You usually have the tradition of having a wedding cake. You have the tradition of having a reception.
So you're the only one that's wearing a white dress?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was a ring. Me and my cousin were the ring.
No, it's not. I don't want anybody wearing white with my wedding. You don't be stealing my shower on my day. No, I'm the only one. Well, maybe the flower girl will wear white. But now no, that's my day. So no, you can't steal my shine.
Me and my cousin was a ring bearer.
Yes, we have ring bearers.
I was tying on the ring.
You have ring bearers the weddings. You have this, but this all comes from a tradition. People in People in when they first came from Africa should hear from slavery. Have you heard of the term jumping the broom?
Yep.
And a lot of people do it now.
Over a broom.
You know where it came from?
Australia.
It came from here.
What?
The reason it came from here was because when the people brought the slaves over, if they wanted to marry, they didn't let them marry for real. So they said, okay, y'all love each other. Okay, y'all like each other. Okay, well, let these people just so-called be together, but not really together. So y'all jump the broom, that means y'all can be together. That's where that term came from, jumping the broom.
Okay, that's all we do.
And well, that's actually why I don't do it. That's why I just don't want it in my wedding. You know, if I'm gonna have a wedding, I just don't agree.
Wait, are you gonna drink the tea?
No.
I wouldn't just really, really low.
Just don't.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not. I'm gonna walk over the moon.
And this brings you, for you.
Yeah. That's all we do.
Okay,
What's over here?
41, started 41. And if you notice your key vocabulary here, you're going to do it later, I'll be right now. Your key vocabulary is Ice Age, Glacier, Old Stone Age. We get into the fun stuff now, the cavemen and all that, dinosaurs and all that kind of stuff, and nomads. That was fun, didn't it? Maybe some stuff with that too.
Okay. In earlier times, the earth had long, cold periods. What's that? Period. This time, known as the Ice Age, lasted millions of years.
It is.
During the Ice Age, glaciers or great sheets of ice covered parts of the earth. The glaciers moved slowly but powerful, like rolling mountains of ice. They moved south from the Arctic region and covered large areas of Europe, Asia, and North America. At the peak of the Ice Age, glaciers covered almost 1/4 of the Earth. As the map on the next page shows, it was during the Ice Age that people began to live together in small groups.
How do you remember that, y'all? How do you remember that? How do you remember that?
I thought the Ice Age only was in Antarctica. Had come all the way down to North America. North America,
We
hot.
discussed it.
Are we in North America?
No.
It's hot.
Yeah, but
It gets hotter other places.
Although they lived long ago, we know many things about them. They left behind traces of their campsite, artwork, and tools. From these things, we have learned about their culture. The first stage of human life is called the Old Stone Age. The Old Stone Age began about 2 million years ago and ended only 10,000 years ago. It got its name from the fact that Old Stone Age people made for warmth and cooking. During the Old Stone Age, this was a time when people were learning how to work together. As you will learn, it was an exciting time of rapid change. A story of the Old Stone Age. In it, imagine that you have gone back in time. To the Old Stone Age, more than 12,000 years ago. The world was a very different place. One day, a boy named Gam was just waking up. The gray light of dawn was beginning to lighten his shelter. During the night, the fire had died out in the earth. So Gam drew his deer skin tightly around him and warmth sitting up. Gam could see that the other members of his group were still sleeping. His group consisted of family members and close relatives. All 24 of them were there. Before long, the campsite was stirring as everyone rolled up their deerskin. sin and began relighting the fire. But Gam did not move. It was too cold to get up. Perhaps if he just lay still. But another day of hunting and food gathering was about to begin. Gam recalled reaching the campsite several days early. His people were following a deer herd that was on the move, like other old Stone Age groups. Gam people were nomads, traveling from place to place in search of
Well, nomad does it show from place to place. You have hunter gatherer, then you have a nomad travel from place to place. They move with the food. Where the food moves, they go with it. Where the buffalo go, they go with it.
They had no permanent homes or villages. They made temporary homes in caves or tents.
Okay.
You gonna build a cave? How?
Don't do that. You have to later on.
Okay. Gang people were nomads because their living conditions they were carved into needles and other tools.
Your bone.
Deer herds were not only animals, Gang people hunt during the Old Stone Age. People also followed herds in business bison, wild horses, and mammals. In those days, the shaggy mammals were one of the world's largest animals. Mammals stood up to 14 feet tall. 14 and 4 meters tall.
14 feet or even 4 meters.
4 meters tall. Hunting and gathering. People of the Old Stone Age were skillful hunters, in order to catch a wild animal, Gang people had to work together. Sometimes they would disguise themselves as deer and close in on a herd. Together they would surround an animal and charge at it. Their weapons sometimes early hunters killed animals by chasing them over a cliff, as shown on the timeline in the unit opener on pages 16 to 17. The earliest hunters used stones and sticks for weapons. Later, hunters learned to use flint or a stone that could be chipped to make a sharp-cutting edge. Using flint, early hunters made many kinds of tools. These included knives and spear points for hunting, scrapers for were good to eat. They often pick berries, pine nuts, and fruit. Sometimes game helped the gatherers dig into the earth in search of roots. Early people used digging sticks carved out of branches to make the job easier.
Thank you. Very good, Karen. Okay, so Ice Age. The movie is not is a fiction. It's funny, right? Ice Age. The Ice Age was a time when it's debatable whether or not the dinosaurs were when extinct because of the Ice Age or because of what meteors or because of something else.
No more food.
Yeah, they don't know why dinosaurs were extinct. They think it's because maybe because of the Ice Age. And do y'all know still a dinosaur that exists today?
Alligators. Crocodile.
No, it's a dinosaur that's alive. It's a dinosaur that's alive now.
It's one of those lizards, isn't it?
It's birds. Birds are dinosaurs.
What? No, they're not.
They are. Birds are dinosaurs. Birds originated from dinosaurs. I did my evolution 10-page paper off of the evolution from dinosaur to birds, and birds are straight, and they come straight from the bloodline of dinosaurs.
Alligators do.
Dinosaurs.
No, sharks do.
Alligators may look like they're bad.
What about sharks? What's
The Ice Age. Can you know what the Ice Age is?
The Ice Age is a movie. Long cold period.
The longest cold period the Earth has ever seen.
Glaciers.
Are
very sheets of ice.
Glaciers, glaciers formed a lot of the landforms that you see today. A lot of lakes and all that. Those big sheets of ice drifted out and it started to carve land out. So a lot of glaciers look like later on. Old Stone Age. The Old Stone Age is not the Flintstones.
It's the first stage of human life.
The Old Stone Age is not Simon. You listening? I need you to look up at me. You gonna write that later on. Write that later on. I need you to listen for me. Write it. Put pencil down. The Old Stone Age is not the Flintstones.
I know.
The Old Stone Age, they say it's beginning of civilization and all that, but of course we'll look into more about how fire was discovered, how we learned to use people in that age. They had to use one particular animal, whether it was a deer or a bison or a buffalo, what you see out there at Shelby Farm sometime walking around.
A buffalo?
Yeah, bison out there, yeah.
I always got that.
They had to use this one particular animal for everything. Their clothing, their food, their weapons, their how they sew with the needles, their tent. They had the tents made out of buffalo skin. So they had to use all this. They had to find a way to use everything out of this one resource. Today, if you want food, Simon, if y'all want food, what you do, Kennedy? You go to the store. Or either you go to the cabinet and you open the cabinet, you get some cereal out, you go to the refrigerator and you get some milk out, you pour the cereal into a bowl,
and you get some bacon.
You put the cereal into a bowl, you put the milk into that bowl, you get a spoon and you eat that cereal. You take the bowl, put the bowl into a sink, you wash it out, or dishwasher, you wash it out, and you're good for the day. These kids had to get up in the morning, go find the wheat, go pick the wheat, bring the wheat all the way back home, walk 5 miles and bring the wheat all the way back home, get to the house, say, Mom, I found some wheat. The mom will get the wheat, she will get her little tools, and she will grind the wheat all up. Then they have to go and make the bowls. Your bowl is just in your cabinet. They had to go make the bowls. They had to use all this mud and clay to mold these bowls, and they would dry out in their utensils. They had to go get the milk from whatever animal they was getting the milk from, whether the cow or whatever. The cow probably didn't exist, but the goats, whatever was around. Get the milk, and then that's how they had to make their food. So they didn't have the convenience to just go into the refrigerator and open this up. They could not store their food. They didn't have refrigeration. They didn't have ice, especially you in Africa. If you in somewhere cold like Alaska somewhere or in Antarctica, you can have that. If you're in Antarctica, guess what? You have no heat. So whatever these people in the ark can have, if they don't find any food for that week, they won't eat. The only thing they live off of is what? Fish. 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 That's what they live off of. So why? Because in the ice, in a place where it's that freezing cold, you're not gonna have any plants growing out of the ice. So they didn't have vegetation. They had to go and they had to dig these holes. If you want to know how they did it, they still do it in Alaska. They carve these holes in the lake or frozen water, wherever they are, and they have tubes. They stick their tubes down like fishing poles, and they get fish like that. That's work, isn't it? They live in igloos. You think it's warm in igloos? Well, I heard it was. I don't know, but it looked cold to me. They said it was warm. I don't know. It looks extremely freezing cold in those places. So y'all have it extremely well to just be able to go and get what you want out of store. If you don't feel like cooking, you can go to Burger King, you can go to McDonald's and get you something to eat. They didn't have that luxury of doing that. They had to work for everything. They got hunters and gatherers. They had to literally get up every morning. John Ford and Gam that you were just reading about. He had to get up every morning at the break of dawn and get up and start working. They didn't have time to go and play the Xbox, whatever y'all play. The Wii, whatever that little thing y'all had to run around the circle pin, whatever that thing y'all had. I don't know what it was called. Beyblade. They didn't have Beyblade. They didn't have that. So they had that. If they played any kind of games, they played with a rock or something, kick the rock. I mean, they didn't have anything. Catch the rock. Sling the rock. They didn't have it. They had rocks and slingshots and bones to play with. Would you like to live somewhere like that?
A slingshot.
I know I wouldn't.
I like slingshot.
Even in Africa today, when you go to certain poor parts of Africa, they don't have that. They don't have all this luxury of. They don't even have running water. Me and my dance company was going to try to go to Africa, but in Africa you have to have an invitation to go to Nigeria. You can't go. They have an actual invitation from one of the bishops over there. They have an invitation. We're going to go there, but the lady told me, she said, be careful to go there. If you want to go there, I can talk to somebody, I have to try to get you to get there, but it's not the place you want to go.
Why?
Now, I'm going to tell y'all Miss Joy. Miss Joy likes to get ready to give us morning, take a hot bath, in the hair, get dressed, be in the air, if it's hot, the heat if it's cold. I like my comfort. I go to a hotel, I want a 5-star hotel. That's what I like. So she told me, she said, Joy, if you go over there, I'll tell you right now, first of all, they don't have toilets. They right there, just mess me up right there. They don't have toilets. They don't have running water. You cannot drink their water. If you drink their water, most likely you will die. You can't drink their water. They don't. That's why you have people over there like in trying to do wells. Like I think they come out of kind of drink, but they can't drink the water. That's where a lot of things like malaria and all that kind of stuff came. Well, actually the mosquitoes and everything, but like bacteria, and that's why some of the children die because of bacteria. They didn't have no running water. You had to use the restroom in a bucket to figure it out. You couldn't take a bath. They had no air, and it's super hot. Now Nigeria is extremely hot. They had no air. Okay, nothing, no light. They used lanterns.
So you gonna be in the dark.
They used lanterns. And even in the hotel, it was so dangerous that you could not go outside your hotel without having a police officer with you. That's how dangerous it was.
Why?
Because it's really dangerous in Nigeria, especially for Christians. It was extremely dangerous. So this is the kind of area these kids live in. This one in Gam. Nomads. As they said, nomads. Remember this too. Nomads had to move from place to place. Wherever their food moved, that's where they moved. Sometimes they would just do a huge, the same kind of rotations all year round. They would come back, the crop would die there, they would go here. The animals would move somewhere else, they would go there. Can you imagine every other week you gotta get up and go somewhere else? Can you imagine that? How hard it would be? And they didn't have wagons then, they had to walk. We might ride no horses. They had to walk. I could imagine riding a horse. But let alone walking. And y'all know if we had to walk that far, what we doing? Hey, man.
I turned around my bike. I
feel like going to day. No, I was playing. We went to Washington D.C. this summer, and we wanted to go and walk to the White House. But each one of those landmarks was 4 miles apart. We went to Capitol. We was off the Washington Monument. And I said, y'all, I'm sorry, I can't do it. We had to turn right back around off our car, but we was just too.
Y'all said just drive.
You can't drive. The streets are too closed off. You can't drive. You can walk. You
Yeah.
can walk and pay $30 for a trolley. So I can only imagine walking in the heat and then you ain't get no food, you ain't get no snack, you ain't get no water. You go find your water. The way you find your water is you see trees or some kind of vegetation around. That's how you find your water. Well, if you see animals going to, that's how you find your water. That's how they find their water. So if they see some zebra or something going somewhere, they follow the zebra. The zebra goes for water. Animals always find water because they're more sensitive than we are finding resources. Huh?
I just want to go to North
Someone we want to do a dance program over there for kids. To help those children.
What if you burned up while you
They were so
They
poor.
don't have no water, no toilet.
Well, I mean, that's why you want to go. You want to go to help them.
I'll bring some hamburgers.
You want to go to help them.
I'll bring some burgers, see if they
Oh, when they go, they always feed them. If you ever notice some of those commercials, and you see those kids, they always eat that kind of food, like little oatmeal and stuff, because they can't straight out just start eating food like we eat. You know, they don't have candy, they don't have sugar, so their teeth are always gorgeous. Their teeth are beautiful. They don't have cavities. We have cavities and little candy. We got to.
I've never had candy.
Serious? Yeah, playing.
I don't play, I'm sick. But how they teeth gorgeous but they don't brush their teeth?
They chew on a. For the beginning of culture, early people like the members of Gam's group we just got to read about, developed their own special cultures. An important part of that culture grew from the ways people met their basic needs. We just talked about that, right? Food, clothing, and shelter. And I know we've added water today because water is definitely a basic need.
What do you mean?
Page 44.
Oh.
At the same time, people also developed unique languages and religious beliefs, which we talked about that too. The development of languages had a major effect on the growth of culture. Through the use of language, people could share ideas about religion, values, customs, and skills. Thus, a group's culture could be learned and spread more quickly. The religious beliefs of Old Stone Age people were tied to their environment. We talked about that too, about how you did the rain, and all that kind of stuff. Page 44. Other beliefs were tied to important parts of their daily life, like hunting and gathering. Such beliefs may have led early people to paint pictures, what we did early the first week, on the walls of the caves in which they lived. They painted pictures of the animals they hunted, which we did, the little buffalo. These paintings probably have religious meaning for early people. The paintings may also have helped hunters teach each other hunting skills. What were the achievements of people who lived during the Old Stone Age, who have learned that it was a time when people struggled to meet the needs of daily living? Remember that early people developed the first languages and religious beliefs. They worked together and learned important skills. These accomplishments mark the beginning of culture. How many people lived in the Old Stone Age?
Well, the Old Stone Age, they lived with their own women.
They did. And they lived, what, nomads, going from place to place, well, hunter-gatherers. Well, they're called, yeah. Tents, deers for everything.
For tents, clothing, bones,
Deer and buffalo. Buffalo bison.
and tools and meat.
Very good. What tools did early people have? Just like I said. Or were they made of? Just like I said. Deer, buffalo, right. Buffalo skin, deer skin. What continents were most affected by the Ice Age? Explain your answer.
Alaska.
Well, what continent? Continent. Well, definitely Antarctica. If you look on page 42, you can see the Ice Age glacier, the Ice Age map, and which continents were affected. If you look right here, you'll see, of course, the whole Antarctica is covered. So you know that was probably really bad. But then you also have part of, what's this, Europe? Part of
North America.
You have part of North America, which I did not know. See North America right there?
Yes.
That Ice Age affected those parts of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Where you see
Alaska. You know Alaska?
Yeah, Alaska should be right there. Okay, what could have been the consequences if the Ice Age had never ended? What would the Earth be like?
It's frozen. Icy. Ice everywhere and cold.
And we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't made it.
I would've.
The human race would have been extinct if that had happened. Okay. All right, that's all for today for that page, for that book. You can close that book up, but we're gonna keep on talking about social studies. Study cultures and go to different countries and study how people lived long ago are called anthropologists. Anthropologists go from different. They travel, Jasmine. They study what you call artifacts. Artifacts are things found such as fossils, old dishes, old paintings, cave paintings, old tools, old clothing. Maybe they can find some different kind of paper or different notes or diaries of people where people wrote, Artifacts are those kind of things. Okay, if you ever get a chance to go to Egypt and you see the pyramids, and the pyramids were closed. When the pyramids were closed off, whenever a king or somebody of royalty died, they were put inside their pyramids. Okay? Listen. They were put inside their pyramids with all their things. And this is another thing about customs and cultures. When they died, they were buried with their gold, their favorite maybe bowl to eat of. They were buried all of everything because they saw whatever they were buried with, they were going to be able to take us to that afterlife. So when these royal people were died, they would get to this pyramid, and their servants would be in there with them. The servants would pull something out into the pyramid, a certain like key or latch in the pyramid, and the whole pyramid would be buried with sand or whatever that they had in there, which means the servants died as well. So they felt like when they died, their servants might as well die too, because the servants won't serve them anyway. They're going to take the servants to the afterlife to serve them. So they actually have to kill the servants, kill themselves as well. So that's in Egypt, the pyramids you'll see of course pyramids that's something else. But you'll see these statues of cats. You'll see statues of sphinx. You'll see these statues of people or a head or it looks like a head. And the reason they do cats because cats were royal pets.
I know dogs. No.
Cats are royal pets. If you ever notice, I know y'all say y'all hate cats, but I love cats. But if you ever notice a cat always acts majestic.
Yeah, I call it joking.
A cat when he will get something, he will sit like this. He acts all stuck up. If you call his name, he'll look the other way. Looks like we had a cat named Speedy. He died. Well, we had to put to sleep with him when he was sick. So we was like, Speedy. I was like, Speedy. He's like, I'll be over here calling his name. He'll say, Just shut up until you want some food, then he'll come running. They'll get somewhere and they'll act like they won't be touched at certain times, so they their most. The only reason they act is because they were royal pets. They were in the palaces of the kings and queens, so they thought they were all that. And now past to this day, even the king of the jungle in Africa, you can see them laying around as the king of the jungle. Like they're all that. They think they're all that. So whenever anthropologists go to these different countries, they look for everything they can to find out more about a culture's past. When we start studying these things about ancient Greece and ancient Rome and ancient Africa, ancient Asia, people get that stuff from anthropologists. Sometimes it takes people years to go and find these artifacts. And we'll try to do a study like that too. We have to pick out like an anthropologist. They have to be so careful. Whenever if they're finding a bone or a skeleton, they have to like literally get a little small brush and sometimes it takes years to uncover these things. They brush the dirt away gently. So these things are so fragile. And you just snatch out the ground and break apart. They take for years to brush and clean these things off. They'll find bowls and they'll find something like a small arrowhead and say, this looks like it may be a tool they use. Let's get this. I found it over here, but come over here. We're going to go ahead and dig a hole right here and see if we can find something else and something they actually do find with it. One thing I found is this underground statue. The statue was so huge, y'all. They weren't just a statue of statues. It was hundreds of statues of soldiers. And they realized there had to be a certain kind of statue that had to deal with a Roman army. Because it was all these men that had helmets on. There was just statues. I'll try to bring a picture so I can show you. They were just standing there. They found artifacts from the Red Sea that they felt was from Moses. When Moses crossed the Red, when the Red Sea opened up and God opened the Red Sea up and Moses walked through, they found artifacts. They found wheels, what they think was chariot wheels. And the reason they think they were chariot wheels was because they were covered in gold. How do I know they're in gold? Because gold never erodes. It never goes away. These chariot wheels have been in the Red Sea that long, that they are still there, and the gold was still there because the gold never goes away. They said they have these pharaohs chariot wheels. So this is what anthropologists do. Anthropologists have meat. I mean, it can be really fun, but it's also very tiring. And sometimes they don't find anything. If we do the experiments, when they do the experiments, sometimes you don't find what you want to find. They do. Now, whenever you go to college, you're going to have to take a class called Anthropology 101. What Anthropology 101 is, it tells you about what we're doing now, cultures. It tells you about different cultures and how they get that kind of stuff, and artifacts and all that. It's fun, it's really fun. But, what anthropologists do, now you have to listen to this. They look at everything from an outsider's point of view. They even look at our culture. They analyze their own culture from an outsider's point of view, because if you're looking at it from your point of view, what's going to happen? Yes. They try to get into the culture, and sometimes these anthropologists will go to these different regions of the world, and they will actually spend time there, time in these cultures. They'll eat what the people eat. They'll sing what people sing. They'll dance what people dance. They'll live like people. They live in huts. They live in huts for weeks and months at a time and years at a time, just to study these people's civilization. Because they want an inside point of view. They want an inside point of view. A lot of times, if you look at something from an outside point of view, what happens is you'll be prejudiced. You'll be like, ugh, they eat that. Ugh, they go there. Look at some of these others they were on their head. Because you're looking from your point of view. You're outside. So anthropologists, when they got a research and information, they said, okay, let's look at it from this. We're going to have to go there and live in our culture for a while. So then, guess what? If you want to go say something in China, we're going to send you to China for a year. You're going to learn their language. You're going to learn their customs. You're going to have to learn their customs. You're going to learn the reason why they do the customs like that. You're going to live in a house with a Chinese family, and you're going to do everything they do. When you come back, you're going to have different beliefs and different, you're going to see things a little bit different. So I sent Michael over somewhere to, where? I don't know. Antarctica to Eskimo. When she comes back, she's going to say, okay, y'all, I didn't know it was like this. Now, since I lived there for a year, I can come back and tell you it's not really like this. Or I feel like it's like this. Or it's it's not the way you thought it was. It's better than I thought it was. It's worse than you thought it was. They have to go there and live there for a long time. So I'm going to read you this real quick, and then I'm going to tell you what it's about. So right, when I read it to you, you're going to be sitting there looking like, are you serious? Okay? This is a story or an article about the people of Nazarima. It's called the Nazarima people. Professor Linton first brought the ritual of the Nazarima to the attention of anthropologists 20 years ago, but the culture of this people is still very poorly understood. They are a North American group living in the territory between the Canadian Cree, the Yaqui, and Tarahumara of Mexico, and the Carib and Arawak of the Antilles. Little is known their origin, although tradition states that they came from the east. According to Nazarima mythology, their nation was originated by a culture hero, Nasim Saul, who is otherwise known for two great feats of strength: the throwing of a piece of wampum across the river Pacamac and the chopping down of a cherry tree in which the spirit of truth resided. Nazarima culture is characterized by a highly developed market economy, which has evolved in a rich natural habitat. While much of the people's time is devoted to economic pursuits, a large part of the fruits of these labors and a considerable portion of the day are spent in ritual activities. The focus of this activity is in the human body, the appearance and health of which loom as a dominant concern in the ethos of the people. While such a concern is certainly not unusual, its ceremonial aspects and associated philosophy are unique. The fundamental belief underlying the whole system appears to be that the human body is ugly, and that its natural tendency is to debility and disease. Incarcerated in such a body, man's only hope is to avert these characteristics through the use of the powerful influences of ritual and ceremony. Every household has one or more shrines devoted to this purpose. The more powerful individuals in the society have several shrines in their houses. And, in fact, the opulence of a house is often referred to in terms of the number of such ritual centers it possesses. Most houses are of wattle and daub construction, but the shrine rooms of the more wealthy are walled with stone. Poorer families imitate the rich by applying pottery plaques to their shrine walls. While each family has at least one such shrine, the rituals associated with it are not family ceremonies, but are private and secret. The rites are normally only discussed with children, and then only during a period when they are being initiated into these mysteries. I was able, however, to establish sufficient rapport with the natives to examine these shrines and to have a ritual described to me. The focus upon the shrine is a box or chest, which is built into the wall. In this chest are kept the many charms and magical potions without which no native believes he could live. These preparations are secured from a variety of specialized practitioners. The most powerful of these are the medicine men, whose assistance must be rewarded with substantial gifts. However, the medicine men do not provide the curative potions for their clients, but decide what the ingredients should be, and then write them down in an ancient and secret language. This writing is understood only by the medicine men and by the herbalists who, for another gift, provide the required charm. The charm is not disposed of after it has served its purpose, but is placed in a charm box of the household shrine. As these magical materials are specific for certain ills, and the real or imagined maladies of the people are many, the charm box is usually full to overflowing. The magical packets are so numerous that people forget what their purposes were and fear to use them again. While the natives are very vague on this point, we can only assume that the idea in retaining all the old magical materials is that their presence in the charm box before which the body rituals are conducted will in some way protect the worshipper. Beneath the charm box is a small font. Each day, every member of the family in succession enters the shrine room, bows his head before the charm box, mingles different sorts of holy water in the font, and proceeds with a brief rite of ablution. The holy waters are secured from the water temple of the community, where the priest conducts elaborate ceremonies to make the liquid ritually pure. That is so long. The holy mouth man opens the client's mouth and, using the above mentioned tool, enlarges any hole which decay may have created in the teeth. Magical materials are put into these holes. If there are no naturally occurring holes in the teeth, large sections of one or more teeth are gouged out so that the supernatural substance can be applied. In the client's view, the purpose of these ministrations is to arrest the decay and to draw friends. The extremely sacred and traditional character of the rite is evident in the fact that the natives return to the holy mouth man year after year, despite the fact that their teeth continue to decay. One has but to watch the gleam in the eye of a holy mouth man as he jabs an awl into an exposed nerve, suspect that a certain amount of sadism is involved. If this can be established, a very interesting pattern emerges for most of the population, shows definite tendencies. Then it talks about a place called the Piso. It talks about the sick people will go to the Piso to recover. And it's like a temple where they would go to recover. But sometimes they would be even hurt even more there. It talks about the women who go to a certain place to have their head put into a unusual dome. It also talks about every morning people put sticks in their mouth with hog hair on the sticks. Okay. These people are called the Nasarima. These people are called the Nasarima people. What do you think about these people? Tell me what you think about these people. I hope you were listening. Were you listening in it? I hope you listened. You were young and looking your bag and everything.
I listened my bag for myself.
Come on, tell me what you think about these people. Come on, Micah. What's the word from your definition?
Bizarre.
Bizarre. Very good. Unusual. Unusual. Bizarre. Tell me something else about these people.
I said they're weird. Crazy.
They're weird. They're crazy. Crazy.
I say crazy.
Weird.
I said weird.
Well, tell me this. What would you do if I came to you one morning and said, Kennedy, Desmond, Simon, Micah, we're going on a field trip to this place. What would you say to me? What would you say to me? And we're going to stay there for a week. So that's for the people. What would you say?
I would say I'm not going. I have to my job.
Yeah. If we're going to go there as anthropologists, and we're going to do every single thing that they do. Every ritual they do in the morning in their shrine box. Everything they go to the place where they go to the pizza, they have to go there to when they're not feeling well, into the medicine man that puts stuff in their mouth and drill holes in their mouth. You would do everything that they do. What would you tell me?
I tell you crazy.
Wow, but how would you tell me?
You gonna go
No, we're going there as anthropologists to write a report. Why would you not want to go?
Because I don't want a hole in my teeth.
You don't hold your teeth. Why else when you want to go?
Because I don't want to be no crazy.
So you think they're crazy people?
Yes.
What do you think should be
It's
done?
psycho.
What do you think should be done with these psycho crazy people? What do you think should be? You think something should be taken to make them stop treating people like this?
Yes.
What do you think should be done?
They should not drill holes in the cavity. They should nail them in there.
What do you think about these medicine men who drill the holes in their people's mouth?
Look. If they already have holes in their teeth, they need to go to a skin clinic. And get feelings.
Alright, so if I told you, Jasmine, I'm paying for y'all trip, Mike, I'm paying for this, Simon, and Kenny, I'm paying for this, y'all come on, let's go. Y'all wanna go with me?
Keep your money.
Y'all wanna go with me? Okay, now I'm about to blow your mind.
What is it? Come on, tell me.
Listen, you gotta listen, you can't say nothing. That's the ring. I'm gonna look this word spelled backwards, face spelled backwards.
American. What? American. America. Oh, it's American. They're not American. America is just with an A.
Now listen to me. Can't no blocking me. Y'all can miss it. I just described to you the American culture, but I did it from my outside point of view. The shrine they go to every morning was the what? Bathroom. The charm box on the wall was the what? With all the potions in it, the magic potions. What's the medicine cabinet? The stick they put in their mouth with hog hairs on it was the what? Toothbrush. The holy mouth man they go to to drill holes in their teeth was the what? Dentist. What was the hole they drill in their teeth for? What do you put in their teeth? Fillings. They put the magic thing you put in their teeth was called with their fillings. The thing that women put their heads in was the what? They put their head in his hot.
Shower.
Hair dryer.
Oh.
Look at the video shop. The La Pizza where they go when sticks will get it, when sticks are sick, what was that? Hospital.
I'm not American. I thought it was
are you listening? All these things. This man his name was Ralph Linton. He was an anthropologist. And he wrote this, a lot of times college students read a whole lot more too, there's a lot on here about what he actually I'm sorry, his name was Horace Monarch. He's from the University of Michigan. He's called a body ritual among the Nephilim. He had to go, since he was an anthropologist, he wanted to see how it felt to be prejudged and to be what's the word? To generalize. Just be considered a category. Because whether you know or not, as crazy as this stuff sounds to y'all, that's exactly how crazy it looks to somebody else who's in another country. How about a child from a third world country? And I brought them in this classroom, they wouldn't know what y'all was sitting in. They wouldn't know what y'all was wearing. What is that? What is that thing? What is that thing you got on? What's this? But they wouldn't know that. They would think, what is that? What's this on his neck? What's that around his neck? What's around his waist? What is that? They wouldn't know. If they saw you eating chips, they'd be like, what is that? What else are you eating? You said they're chips. What do you mean they're chips? They're fried potatoes. Fried potatoes? You don't eat potatoes like that where we come from. What is it you're eating? It's candy. What's candy? Sweet. What's sweet? What makes it sweet? Sugar cane. Sugar cane. We don't use sugar cane for that over there. To make something sweet like that. If you drink a soda pop, they're like, what's the bubbles in there? It's fizzy. What makes it fizzy? They would be completely like, to see all this stuff. They tell you get the games you play. If they saw a Wii, they see you playing with a Wii and you hitting a tennis ball with a Wii, they're like, how'd you do that? But it's not always be a good thing they do it. Sometimes they're like, I don't want to go here, Mom. I don't know. The same thing you told me, I don't want to go there. Knowing the world, Miss Joe, I'm not going to go there. I don't care how much money you paying me to go there, you already here.
You just wasted your money.
You are already here. That's the same thing other kids do on your culture. Can you imagine that? It comes from understanding. So whenever you look at a different culture, you have to look at it from, wait a minute, you can't be present in another culture. You can't say, okay, that's stupid. It's crazy. That's bizarre. That's unusual. That's weird. That's psycho. Some people crazy going to the medicine man. Y'all was going through the whole time. Somebody just get away from them. Dentist.
I told you him once.
Oh, wow. I don't know how it sounds like this.
What time is it? dance.
It is?
I know
Can I
this.
say?
I know this. I know this. I know this all the time ago because they started saying, ooh.
Okay. Let me just look with y'all. Hold on. Camera off. We done with this lesson.
Oh. Can I go use the restroom? Give me a little